Hi, here is my analysis of basically of this new browser, which appears first on Theo T3, at least in my stream, saying about, look, there is this ladybird and there is a lot of potential. And let me be the destroyer of the bad news that no, ladybird will not do much or anything even. And why? Let's talk facts mostly. So the first fact is that a web browser is a huge effort. There is a lot of progress, at least in the presentation, which we see here that from he started from 2020, if I understood correctly, his work, and in 2024, he says that he needs 2 more years mostly to do this. We'll talk with an asterisk about JavaScript because some people say, hey, there is some JavaScript involved, but this is the tricky part, that it's not as well as it sounds, as far as I understand. And the effort, for example, for the JavaScript code is to be more or less an interpreter. And this is, I hope I understood him correctly, the creator, and he will be the team lead, is he's saying the following.
You for the talk. It was really interesting to hear that you are starting to uh, consider putting in optimizations for performance. When can we expect a optimizing compiler in libjs?
Well, that's a good question. Optimizing compiler in libjs, it's something that I'm a little bit suspicious of. I know it's all the rage to optimize JavaScript, and people love writing, 10-tier JIT compilers and stuff. But I started using that lockdown mode in iOS when that came out, and they turn off the JIT, and the web is just fine. So I am a little bit curious about how much can we really do without a JIT? Like, do we need a JIT? Do we need to make the security compromises, the complexity compromises that a JIT forces you to make? I don't know. So from my perspective, I think I'm most interested in exploring like how far can we push an architecture that doesn't make the sacrifices necessary for a JIT. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't optimize. We should probably optimize. We need to make a bytecode interpreter and make that really fast with all the techniques and stuff. But I'm curious about an alternate path, not necessarily what production engines do today.
So here we heard it from his perspective, and obviously his perspective can change, but as stated, he has a very big uphill battle. And the biggest part, which I understand, is that he would create basically this structure. He has mostly this structure kind of working, but he has to kind of polish it in 2 years. He will also move it to Swift version 6, which is great. I'm not but a fan of this kind of choice. He will port more or less 500,000 of lines of code from C++ to Swift, and he will also improve uh, probably other components with it. This is kind of, you can do it in 2 years. And why I'm saying this is it, because this is what you can see at least in his project. And partially the issue is that we had this experiment done already. It is named Servo. And Servo was done as a research for a few years from a company with many millions of dollars in revenue. And later they drop it. And I mean, Mozilla. And right now, I think it's part of the Linux Foundation. I may be wrong. And it has all the qualities that a company could go. They could make a servo-based browser with a Qt interface, and they would be good to go. And I heard no big talk about it, even though technically it's possible. And on top of that, the I heard the creator would not invest a lot of time at least to make the JavaScript really top of the top. And I would say this matters, but this failed experiment reminds me of other part of history. The Java virtual machine, was historically having many implementations, and right now there are very few. Like some of them are very specialized, like robotics. There is this one as a research one in universities, no one uses it. Maxine is basically a closed source, even though it's supposedly open source. From Oracle, no one works on it but Oracle at the University of Manchester. Maybe you want to do research. Similarly, GraalVM, it's an Oracle. Um, here, uh, it is IBM, if I noticed right. So there is Oracle, IBM, and later there is Azul, I think, as commercial, and Jamaica VM for embedded systems. But there are many, many inactive and initiatives. Even Microsoft had a virtual machine, Blackdown, Java, and things like that. And why I'm using these examples of Java is that Java tried few times and Java eventually kind of solidify versus around big corporations. And all these small efforts kind of died one by one, and they were super bad compared with what a big company offers. And this will be very clearly happening with the browser. But some people say, hey, you heard the guy. He said that look, the optimizations do not pay off because they I don't know. He was happy with his phone uh, navigating with him with an interpreter only. But this is not how the software works. It works well, yes, for simple sites like maybe Wikipedia, which we see now. But I would say this blog post of it is from Mozilla. It is kind of 8 years old, and it will show how much it matters to do optimizations. And here there are specifically three optimizations, if I remember right. One of them is branch pruning, a form of dead code elimination. One is scalar replacement and escape analysis. And it shows here, like when you use for off, even scalar replacement, there is not a big improvement. But with branch pruning and scalar replacement, they can make the code kind of 2.5 times faster. And it goes surprisingly close to a C-like for loop. Let's say the optimal way to do the loop. And it is very different even this with a compiled code here compared to a bytecode interpreter that very likely the team of LadyBird will succeed. And I know this project is maybe a 10 years, 10 many years or 20 many years to do, even at the level of Firefox. But to me, just not integrating some JavaScript runtime, even from Apple or from Google, just for the sake of making the browser usable. And obviously, on top, there are other issues like extensions. How, if a person takes that browser, would take bookmarks, password managers, or things like that. And these are things which people use. Like, I'm not saying you should integrate with banking. Even this would be great to have a browser engine that is whatever vendor independent that can support banking. But this just this integration to make it accessible. I never heard any wording about accessibility to to make all these basic OS integrations take years. And I can't see it done and dismissing the JavaScript performance. It is kind of the cherry on the top, which will make it kind of dead on arrival. And to be very clear about one last thing, I'm saying, yes, the performance matters so much. And some people say it doesn't matter. Look, this site doesn't use a lot of code. And I would agree on this particular site. If you want to read just blogs, to go to Serenity OS site and to look nice, great, you succeeded. You'll have no issue here. But if you go on a deeper level, like you really want to have applications that they sometimes they have obfuscators which make the site run 10 times slower because they rely that the JavaScript engine will make it run 100 times faster. So at the end, everyone is happy. It is quite silly to say, hey, I can use everything, but not for this kind of simple banking site because I don't have a proper accelerated JavaScript. And I'll say one more part at the end. Let's take the case with the interpreter. Let's say you are an Apple customer. You say, hey, I got to your banking site and your site goes horrible. I don't know why. And the reason is that the code is obfuscated on that company's website. And people say, what do we have? They pin it down. It is an iPhone. So when they will detect there is an iPhone, they will say, hey, every time when it's on an iPhone, I can give the site, let's say, unprotected, unobfuscated. And it will work fine for the site because companies, banking companies will be angry when customers will start screaming, hey, I have iPhone, nothing works. But if you say it doesn't work with my LadyBird browser, who will care? And I would guess no one. And that will be the tragedy of this project, that it will die by 1,000 cuts. And the biggest one, as I can see for now, is not taking into account a JavaScript core from the Apple Steam, at least as a solution. And I would hope that to be the case because there is no other browser engine but V8 on the browsers minus the WebKit. So here we could have an alternative implementation, and that would make at least some people to support more types of JavaScript. So it will improve our uh, better standard compliance. Thank you for listening, and bye bye.